What do you mean no one cares? It is important. Okay. August 10th, 1940. The fighting between the European nations has mostly been in mainland Europe so far this war. But this week that changes. This week a British colony is invaded. I'm Indy Nidell. This is World War II. Last week, the Soviet Union annexed Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and parts of Romania. In the West, the fighting over the English Channel continued, and Adolf Hitler set September 15th as the date for the German invasion of Britain. But another invasion is beginning right now, as I said, and it's happening in East Africa. On August 4th, the Italians launched an invasion of British Somaliland from Abyssinia, which they have controlled the last few years. This is to be a quick, spectacular, and strategic victory, and will be useful both militarily and for propaganda purposes. The Italians have 350,000 troops in Abyssinia, 70% of them native. The British in all of East Africa have fewer than 25,000 and just 4 battalions in Somaliland. Italy allots many times that for the invasion force with huge artillery superiority. There are 3 lines of advance, Tuzela in the north, Hargeisa in the center, and Odwena on the right. British Somaliland is the smallest and the most desolate of the British East African possessions, sandy and barren and with a dangerous coastline. But you know, when the war had broken out, it became a threat to the Italians. I mean, it neighbored French Somaliland and the port and railway at Djibouti, which was the quickest way to Addis Ababa, the Abyssinian capital. But France being defeated and Italy officially joining the war totally turned the tables. The British military contingency plans had rested on working with the French across the border. But now British Somaliland is isolated. Berbera, the capital, is a week from Mombasa by sea, and to get any reinforcements by land from Nairobi, they'd have to go through Italian Somaliland. The British plan, though, is not to reinforce and not to evacuate. They will offer maximum resistance, inflict the greatest losses possible on the enemy, and then attempt to withdraw. So the Italians invade with 25,000 men, crossing the border August 4th. Zela and Hargeisa fall within 48 hours. By the end of the week, they are nearing Berbera, where the British and colonial defense forces, such as they are, await them. Now, I imagine some of you are thinking, British Somaliland? East Africa? So what if some guys are fighting there? That doesn't make any difference to the war, but you are mistaken. You also might think, when you look at a map of East and Northeast Africa, that the Italian situation there is unfair. And what about all the oil in the Middle East? How would you get that? And think what losing the Red Sea would do to sabotage British trade and communications when they most need those lines open. Transport from India, Australia, or New Zealand would be lengthened by weeks, if not months, and that could decide the war. The WASP was nearly a year away, even as the Italians begin one right now. In a far-off corner of the globe that no one much in Europe has ever really thought about or even really heard of, and yet it is still of major importance, and this illustrates the nature of this conflict. Here in 1940, the world is interconnected, and the events on one continent have major repercussions on other continents and can decide the war. Make no mistake, modern war is global war.